At my brother's wedding, my father laughed in front of everyone and said, "He has no degree, no wife, but he sure knows how to write checks." Everyone burst out laughing. I stood up, grabbed the microphone, and said, "You know what? You're right. I'm not part of this family, just its ATM." Then I looked at the bride and added, "The $20,000 wedding gift? Canceled." Everyone looked at each other, speechless. And that was just the beginning. I never thought I'd end up like this, standing in the middle of a wedding, microphone in hand, saying things I never imagined I'd say. But here I am, spilling it all because I need to get it out. My name is Pedro, I'm 34, and for the last 10 years, I've been my family's bank. It all exploded at my brother Camilo's wedding, and though it hurts to relive, here's my story. I don't have a college degree, a fact my father always throws in my face like I'm a failure. But what I do have is a tech company I built from scratch. I started coding in my room at 20, self-taught, working until dawn. Today, my company makes software for big corporations, and I'm the boss. It wasn't easy, but I made it. Along the way, I became the one who paid for everything for my family. My parents, my brother Camilo, and my older sister Paula. At first, I didn't mind helping. When my dad lost his job, I paid their mortgage. When Paula got divorced, I covered her legal fees and gave her money to get by. And Camilo, well, he's always been a mess with money. I lent him thousands for his failed ideas and paid his rent when he was jobless. I've spent a fortune on them, thinking that's what families do, support each other. But over the years, things changed. The thank you stopped. Calls weren't a chat but to ask for something. Pedro, the car broke down. Pedro, Camilo needs a loan. Pedro, the house needs repairs. I was always the one fixing things, and though my company was doing well, I started feeling like a money machine, not a son or brother. Camilo's wedding was the final straw. He and his fiancée, Sophia, wanted a lavish affair. Fancy venue. Food for 200, live music. The budget was $50,000, but they had nothing. My parents barely covered their own expenses, and Camilo's job doesn't pay enough. So, as usual, they turned to me. "Pedro, it's your brother's wedding," my mom said over the phone, using that voice she pulls to guilt me. "It's special just this once." I ended up paying almost everything, $45,000 out of my pocket. I covered the venue, food, photographer, even Sophia's dress. I also gave them money for a honeymoon cruise. I thought it was my gift, a way to show I cared, but deep down, something felt off. No one asked if I could afford it or if I wanted to. They just assumed I'd do it. The wedding day was picture perfect. The venue looked like a movie set, with lights and flowers everywhere. I sat at the head table with my parents, Camilo and Sophia, feeling out of place. My suit was tight, my smile forced. People toasted and danced, but I was thinking about the bills I'd paid to make it happen. Then came the speeches. My dad stood up, glass in hand, with that charming smile he uses to win people over. I thought he'd talk about Camilo, but instead, he turned to me. "I want to mention my eldest son, Pedro," he said, and my stomach nodded. He has no degree or wife, but he sure knows how to write checks. The room roared with laughter. My dad laughed, Camilo laughed, Sophia cackled, and the guests clapped like it was the best joke ever. I sat there, staring at my plate, my face burning. It wasn't the first time my dad made me feel small, but never like this, in front of so many people. I looked around. No one noticed I wasn't laughing. To them, it was just a joke. To me, it was a slap in the face. I realized something I'd suspected for a while. I wasn't part of this family. I was their ATM. I don't know where I found the courage, but I stood up, walked to the stage, and grabbed the microphone. The music stopped, and all eyes were on me, expecting something funny. "You know what, Dad?" I said, my voice shaky. "You're right. I'm not part of this family, just their ATM." The room went silent. A few people chuckled, thinking it was a joke, but it wasn't. I looked at Camilo and Sophia, who seemed confused, and added, "And since we're being honest, the $20,000 wedding gift? Canceled." The room froze. My mom covered her mouth. My dad frowned like he didn't get it. Camilo's jaw dropped. I didn't give him a chance to respond. I dropped the mic, walked out and got in my car. My hands were shaking as I sat there, breathing hard, trying to calm down. I didn't know if I'd done the right thing, but for the first time in years, I felt like I'd stood up for myself. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept replaying everything, knowing my family wouldn't stay quiet. The calls and accusations would come, but something in me had shifted. I was done being used. The next day, I took action. I called the bank and froze the remaining wedding payments. The venue was expecting $5,000, and the caterer wanted a deposit. I paid nothing. I also canceled the honeymoon cruise money. I knew Camillo and Sophie had plans, but I couldn't keep paying while they treated me like this. Then I spoke to my lawyer. Camillo owed me $15,000 from a loan I gave him 2 years ago, which he never repaid, so we decided to sue. I'd also bought a house from my parents, intending to give it to Camillo after the wedding. I halted that transfer. The house is still in my name, and I'm not giving it to anyone. My phone didn't stop ringing. My mom texted, crying, saying I was destroying the family. My dad called, yelling that I was selfish. Paula sent a message asking me to reconsider. Camillo wrote, I can't believe you're this petty. You ruined my wedding. Every message hurt, but I didn't back down. For the first time, I put myself first, and though it felt awful, there was a strange relief, like a weight lifting off me. The first week was the worst. My mom called 15 times a day, leaving voicemails that swung from pleading to angry. Pedro, how could you do this to us? We're your family, she said in one, her voice trembling. In another, harsher. You're ungrateful. After all we've done for you, this is how you repay us. My dad's messages were pure venom. I never thought my own son would be so selfish. You're tearing this family apart. Paula tried to mediate, but her messages were manipulative too. Pedro, I get that you're upset, but you can't punish us all for what Dad said. Let's talk, please. Camillo surprised me. I expected rage, but his first message was almost pathetic. Bro, I don't know what got into you. This isn't you. Sophie is devastated. Can we fix this? I didn't respond. Every time I read their words, I remembered Camillo laughing at Dad's joke without hesitation. If his special day mattered so much, why didn't he think about how I felt? I turned off my phone for a couple of days. I needed space, a moment to think without their voices haunting me. I holed up in my apartment, a place that always felt more like an office than a home. My life had been work, bills, and fixing problems. I'd never stopped to ask what I wanted. But now, with silence filling the air, I started realizing how much I'd missed out on. The Monday after the wedding, I met with my lawyer, Martin, a no-nonsense guy I'd known since starting my company. I told him everything. The wedding, my dad's speech, my reaction, the frozen payments, the lawsuit against Camillo, the house I didn't transfer. He listened, taking notes. And when I finished, he looked at me with a mix of respect and concern. Pedro, you did the right thing setting boundaries, he said, adjusting his glasses. But brace yourself. This is going to escalate. Your family won't take no for an answer easily, and the lawsuit against Camillo will get ugly. Let it get ugly, I said, more confident than I felt. I'm done being their bank. Martin nodded and laid out the next steps. The lawsuit against Camillo was underway. The $15,000 wasn't huge for me, but it was a principle. If I let him off, he'd keep asking for money forever. We also discussed the house. It was in my name, but my parents were living there, and Camillo expected to move in after the wedding. Stopping the transfer was easier than I thought, but Martin warned they might try to fight it legally. They don't have much of a case, he said, but they could make your life hell out of spite. That conversation left me with relief and anxiety. Relief because I was taking control, anxiety because I knew my family wouldn't back down. And I was right. That Friday, I got an unexpected visitor. I was in my office reviewing contracts when my assistant said someone was here to see me. It's your mom, she said, looking like she wanted no part of this. My stomach twisted, but I told her to let her in. My mom walked in, eyes red like she'd been crying all morning. She sat across from my desk and started talking before I could say a word. Pedro, how do we get here? You're my son. I never wanted you to feel this way. What your dad said at the wedding was a mistake, a stupid joke, but you can't punish us all for it. I tried to stay firm, but seeing her like that broke me a little. Mom, it's not just a joke. It's years of feeling like I'm only good for paying your bills. No one asks how I'm doing or what I want. You only call when you need something. She shook her head like she couldn't accept it. That's not true. We love you. You're a part of this family. Really? I said, my voice colder than I meant. Because at the wedding, I didn't feel like part of anything. Everyone laughed. Dad, Camillo, Sophia, you. No one said a word when Dad humiliated me. She went quiet, staring at the floor. For a moment, I thought she'd say something profound, something to change things, but she just sighed and said, we need you to reconsider the house, Pedro. We have nowhere to live if you don't help. There it was, the truth. She hadn't come to apologize. Not really. She'd come to ask for more. I stood, walked to the door, and opened it. Mom, I have work. We'll talk later. She left without another word, her look a mix of disappointment and anger. When the door closed, I sat and stared at the wall. How had it come to this? When did my family become strangers who only saw me as a money source? The days that followed weren't easier. Camillo's messages got more aggressive. You're ruining my marriage, he wrote one night. Sophia won't talk to me because we have no honeymoon. This is your fault. Then another, the lawsuit's a joke, right? You can't do this to me. I didn't reply, but each message felt like a weight on my chest. One night, while drinking coffee in my kitchen, I got a call from Paula. I didn't want to answer, but something made me pick up. Pedro, you have to stop this, she said, skipping pleasantries. You're making everyone suffer. Mom's not sleeping, Dad's furious, and Camillo, well, you know how he is. Just talk to them. Fix this. Fix what, Paula? I said, exhausted. That they treat me like an ATM? That they laughed at me in public? What do you want me to fix? You're too harsh, she replied. We all make mistakes. Dad didn't mean to hurt you, and Camillo, well, he's young, he does stupid things. But we're your family. I don't feel like you are, I said and hung up. I was done hearing excuses. That night, I couldn't sleep. I thought about the last 10 years, the money I'd given, the times I swallowed my pride to keep the peace. I remembered paying my parents' mortgage, helping Paula with her divorce, giving Camillo cash for his projects. In every memory, I realized something. They never truly thanked me. They never saw me as more than a solution to their problems. I decided I needed help. I couldn't carry this alone. I found a therapist and booked an appointment for the next week. I didn't know if it would work, but I needed to talk to someone who wasn't trying to get something from me. Meanwhile, the wedding fallout continued. The venue called, saying Camillo tried to negotiate the outstanding payments but had no money. The caterer asked if I'd cover the deposit. I said no. I didn't feel guilty, but I felt a strange emptiness. I'd funded it all thinking it was a gift, and now I was undoing it, like erasing part of myself. One afternoon, I got an email from Sophia, her first direct contact. Pedro, I don't know how we got here, she wrote. The wedding was a disaster because of your decision. Camillo's broken, and I don't know how to move forward. Please reconsider the trip. It's all we have left. I didn't reply, but her words stuck with me. Was I the bad guy? Was I too cruel? I talked to Martine about it. Don't let them manipulate you, he said. They know money's your weak spot. They want you to feel guilty, so you'll give in. He was right, but it didn't make the pain less. A couple of weeks later, something shifted. Camillo called, and for the first time, he didn't sound angry or desperate. Pedro, I need to talk to you, he said. In person, no lawyers, no texts, just us. I agreed, though I wasn't sure why. We met at a cafe near my office. He was already there, sitting with an untouched coffee, looking tired with dark circles and messy hair. Thanks for coming, he said, sounding sincere for the first time in ages. Speak, I said, crossing my arms. I screwed up, Pedro, he started. Dad's joke was stupid, and I shouldn't have laughed. I didn't think it had hurt you so much. And the wedding, I don't know how to apologize for that. But the lawsuit, the house, all this, it's too much. We're brothers. We can't go on like this. I looked at him, searching for something in his words to convince me, but all I saw was someone regretting the consequences, not what he'd done. Camillo, it's not just a wedding, I said. It's years of feeling like I'm nothing to you unless I'm paying for something. When was the last time you asked how I'm doing? When were we actually a family? He went quiet, staring at his coffee. I don't know what to say, he mumbled. You don't have to say anything, I replied. Just understand I'm not your solution anymore. I left the cafe feeling lighter, but also lonelier. The talk didn't fix anything, but it gave me clarity. I wasn't ready to forgive, and maybe I never would be, but I felt like I was starting to build a life where I mattered. After meeting Camillo, I kept my distance. I didn't block their numbers, but stopped responding. Every message was a test of my resolve, and though it hurt to ignore them, I knew it was necessary. My therapist, Laura, helped a lot. I started weekly sessions, and though it felt weird at first talking to a stranger, I slowly understood why I'd let my family use me for so long. Pedro, you grew up feeling your worth depended on what you could give, Laura said in one session. That's not your fault, but now you have a chance to change that story. Her words stuck with me. For years, I thought my money was what made me valuable to them, but in therapy, I saw the problem wasn't me. It was how they treated me. Meanwhile, things with my family stayed tense. The lawsuit against Camillo moved forward, and though it was slow, Martine kept me updated. One day, I got a notice that Camillo had paid $5,000 of the $15,000 he owed me. It wasn't much, but it was a step. Martine said he likely did it to avoid more legal trouble, but to me, it was a small win. Camillo facing a consequence for once. Sophia surprised me with a message weeks later. It was short but direct. Pedro, I'm sorry how things ended. I don't blame you for what you did. Camillo and I broke up. Just wanted you to know not everyone sees you as a wallet. I didn't reply, but her words made me think. Maybe not everyone in my family saw me as an ATM, but the damage was done. My parents were the most persistent. My mom kept sending messages, alternating between pleas and accusations. Pedro, your dad's sick. We can't afford his medicine without you, she wrote once. I checked and found out my dad had high blood pressure, but nothing serious. Another guilt tactic. My dad stopped calling, probably too proud to apologize, and I wasn't begging for one. The house I bought for them was another battle. They tried convincing me to transfer it, saying it was fair since they lived there, but Martine assured me they had no legal claim. I decided to sell it. It wasn't easy. That house represented years of my effort, but it also reminded me how I'd been used. When it sold, I put the money in savings. For the first time, it was for me, not them. 6 months after the wedding, my life was unrecognizable. I still ran my company, but delegated more to have time for myself. I enrolled in a photography course, something I'd always wanted to do, but never had time for. I also reconnected with friends I neglected for years. One, Diego, invited me on a weekend beach trip. The first time in ages I laughed without worry about who needed what from me. But it wasn't all perfect. Some nights, I woke up with a knot in my chest, wondering if I'd been too harsh, if my family really needed me, if I was selfish like they said. Laura helped me work through those thoughts. Setting boundaries isn't selfish, she'd say. It's self-love. Slowly, I started believing her. One day, I got a handwritten letter from my mom, unexpected and trembling in my hands as I opened it. Pedro, it read, I know we've hurt you. I don't know how to fix it, but I want to try. I'm not asking for money, just a place in your life. I love you. For the first time, I didn't feel anger reading her words, but I wasn't ready to respond. I tucked the letter in a drawer with other things I didn't know how to process. Camillo kept paying his debt in bits. A year later, he'd covered $8,000. I don't know how he managed, but I assumed he was working harder or borrowing. It didn't matter. What mattered was he was following through for once. We didn't talk, and I didn't know if we ever would, but I found peace in letting him go. My parents faced financial struggles. A cousin mentioned they were selling things to get by. Part of me felt bad, but another knew it wasn't my job to save them. They'd made their choices, and I'd made mine. In therapy, I worked on the trauma of feeling used. Laura helped me see my worth wasn't in my money, but in who I was. "You're more than a check, Pedro," she said once, and though it sounded simple, it took months to sink in. We also tackled the guilt of cutting off financial support. "You did what you had to do to protect yourself," she said. "That doesn't make you a bad person." One day, walking in the park after a session, I noticed I was smiling for no reason. It was strange, like the weight I'd carried for years was fading. I wasn't fully healed, and maybe never would be, but I was on my way. Now, a year and a half after the wedding, my life's quieter. I'm still in therapy, learning to put myself first. My company's doing well, and I'm planning a trip to Europe, something I always wanted but never allowed myself. I have little contact with my family, except occasional messages from Paula, who seems the only one willing to respect my boundaries. Sometimes I think about the wedding, the moment I grabbed the mic and spoke my truth. It was a point of no return, an explosion that changed everything. I don't regret it, but I don't celebrate it either. It was something I had to do to survive. Though some days the pain returns, I know I'm building something new, a life where I'm not just a wallet, but a person. I don't know what'll happen with my family. Maybe we'll talk someday, maybe not. For now, I'm focused on me, on healing, growing, and finding the happiness I denied myself for so long. And that, for me, is enough. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments, and subscribe for more daily stories.